If you are listening to this right now, this is not coincidence. You did not randomly arrive here. You were not scrolling without direction. Something inside you was pulled. There are moments when heaven interrupts routine. Moments when the noise fades. Moments when the soul recognizes a sound it has heard before. This is one of those moments. What you are about to hear is not entertainment. It is not motivation. It is not a sermon meant to impress. This is a summons. Some of you listening have been fighting battles you never started, battles you never announced, battles that found you while you were trying to live quietly. You tried to stay peaceful. You tried to stay silent. You tried to stay focused on your own life. And yet, opposition rose, resistance appeared, pressure followed you. Not because you were wrong, but because you were chosen to endure. There are seasons when prayer is comfort, and there are seasons when prayer becomes authority. Tonight, we are not here to whisper. We are here to stand, not in anger, not in hatred, but in alignment with divine justice, because there is a difference between revenge and justice. Revenge comes from wounded ego. Justice comes from divine order. And when justice speaks, heaven listens.
Many people misunderstand spiritual warfare. They think it is loud. They think it is chaotic. They think it is emotional rage disguised as faith. But true spiritual authority is calm, measured, certain. When a judge enters a courtroom, because the greatest battles in life are not physical, they are legal. Accusations, false narratives, hidden opposition, unseen resistance, things you could not explain, things you could not prove, things you could only feel. You felt pressure without a face, resistance without a name, opposition without evidence, and you asked yourself quietly, why is this happening to me? This message is for those who were targeted without cause, for those who were misunderstood, for those who were opposed for choosing integrity over compromise. The ancient texts call this moment contention, not conflict born from pride, but contention born from righteousness. There are times when silence is wisdom, and there are times when silence becomes surrender to injustice. Tonight is not about silence. Tonight is about alignment. If you feel this already speaking to your situation, pause for a moment. Subscribe to this channel now, not for content, but for continuity. What begins tonight will continue, and you will want to be present for the full journey. There is a reason ancient prayers were not casual. They were structured, intentional, strategic. They were spoken by people who understood that words are not sounds, they are agreements. What you agree with gains access. What you tolerate gains permission. For too long, many have tolerated injustice in silence, calling it patience, calling it humility. But humility is not the absence of boundaries, and patience is not the acceptance of abuse. Even Jesus confronted injustice, calmly, clearly, with authority. He did not shout, he did not curse people, he established truth. Tonight, that is our posture. Not emotional warfare, but legal alignment. When you align with truth, falsehood loses ground automatically. You do not need to fight darkness directly. You turn on light, and darkness withdraws. Many of you listening have been carrying emotional weight that does not belong to you. Shame that was projected, guilt that was transferred, fear that was planted. and you wondered why peace felt distant even when you tried to do everything right. It is because peace is not found by avoidance. Peace is found by order, and order is restored through truth. This series is not about fear, it is about clarity. Not about paranoia, but discernment. Not about enemies everywhere, but about understanding opposition when it exists. Because pretending a storm is not there does not stop the rain. But understanding the storm teaches you where to stand. Some of you listening are tired, not physically, but internally. Tired of explaining yourself, tired of defending your character, tired of being misunderstood. This is where divine justice enters, not to humiliate others, but to vindicate truth. When truth is vindicated, you no longer need to explain. Life explains for you. If you are still listening and this resonates, type one word in the comments: justice. Not for visibility, for declaration. In the next sections of this part, we will move from calling to understanding. Why certain battles appear without warning. Why opposition often rises when you choose peace. And how spiritual authority actually functions without aggression, fear, or obsession. This is not about becoming aggressive. It is about becoming anchored. And when you are anchored, nothing unstable can move you.
Spiritual authority is often misunderstood. Many people confuse it with control. Others confuse it with emotion. Some think authority means dominating others. It does not. True authority has nothing to do with volume, aggression, or fear. Authority works quietly, systematically, predictably. In life, authority always comes from alignment, not force. Think about this. A police officer does not stop traffic because of physical strength. Traffic stops because the system recognizes authority. Spiritual authority works the same way. When you are aligned with truth, you do not need to fight resistance. Resistance recognizes alignment and weakens on its own. Many people pray from desperation. They pray hoping something will change. That is not authority. That is survival. Authority comes from understanding your position. You do not pray to convince God. You pray to align yourself. When alignment happens, your words stop being requests and start becoming declarations. This is why knowledge matters. Emotion without understanding leads to exhaustion. Understanding without emotion leads to stability. Authority does not shout. Authority does not beg. Authority speaks once, clearly. This is why panic weakens prayer. Panic reveals misalignment. Peace strengthens authority because peace shows confidence in order. If this perspective is helping you see things differently, stay with this series and subscribe. Understanding builds layer by layer. Spiritual authority is not about fighting people. It is about addressing systems. Many of the challenges people face are not personal attacks. They are systemic misalignments. Fear spreads through agreement. Confusion spreads through silence. Oppression spreads through acceptance. Authority interrupts these systems. When you stop agreeing with confusion, confusion loses influence. When you stop tolerating disorder, order begins to return. Authority does not mean you control outcomes. It means you control your position, and position determines outcome. Take a moment and comment one word below: alignment. In the next part, we will talk about a difficult subject: silence. When silence is wisdom,
and when silence becomes permission. That distinction changes everything.
Silence is powerful, but silence is not always wisdom. Many people are taught that staying quiet is strength, that avoiding conflict is maturity, that enduring everything without response is spirituality. Sometimes that is true, but not always. There is a moment when silence protects peace, and there is a moment when silence allows disorder to grow. The difference lies in awareness. Silence is healthy when it is chosen consciously. Silence becomes harmful when it is forced by fear, exhaustion, or confusion. Justice does not require shouting, but it does require clarity. When you stay silent in the presence of injustice, you are not being humble. You are leaving the system unchallenged. This is why spiritual maturity is not passive, it is discerning. Discernment asks one question: what does this moment require? Sometimes the answer is patience. Sometimes the answer is distance. And sometimes the answer is truth spoken calmly. Justice is not revenge. Justice is correction. Correction restores balance. Revenge only shifts pain. If this is helping you understand your past decisions, stay connected and subscribe. Clarity often comes in stages. Many people confuse endurance with righteousness, but endurance without awareness leads to burnout. There are situations where remaining silent teaches others that your boundaries do not exist. And when boundaries are unclear, disorder fills the gap. Justice begins internally. It begins the moment you stop blaming yourself for things you did not create. It begins when you stop carrying responsibility for choices other people made. Justice is not about making others wrong. It is about making truth visible. And truth does not need force. Truth works quietly, like gravity. It does not announce itself. It simply acts. When truth enters a situation, false narratives collapse naturally. This is why clarity is more powerful than argument. If this resonates, comment one word below: truth. Justice also requires timing. Speaking too early creates resistance. Speaking too late creates regret. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Silence is not weakness, but silence must never become self-betrayal. In the next part, we will talk about hidden opposition, not to create fear, but to develop discernment without suspicion. Not every challenge announces itself. Some resistance works quietly. Hidden opposition is not always dramatic. It does not always look like conflict. Often it appears as delay, confusion, or subtle pressure. This is where discernment matters. Discernment is not suspicion. It is not paranoia. It is awareness without fear. Many people either ignore opposition completely or imagine it everywhere. Both extremes weaken clarity. True discernment is balanced. It notices patterns without panic. It observes without reacting. Hidden opposition often works through misdirection. You feel busy but unproductive, active but unsettled, moving but not progressing. This is not failure. It is a signal to pause and reassess alignment. Discernment begins by asking, is this resistance external or internal? Not every obstacle is opposition. Sometimes resistance reveals areas that need structure. If this perspective is helping you think more clearly, stay connected and subscribe. Understanding develops gradually.
Hidden opposition often feeds on emotional reactions. The more reactive you become, the more influence it gains. This is why calm awareness is powerful. You do not need to confront everything you notice. You need to understand what deserves your attention. Discernment separates distraction from direction. When something repeatedly drains your energy without producing growth, it deserves evaluation. This does not mean blame, it means adjustment. Discernment allows you to change strategy without changing values. Opposition weakens when you stop feeding it attention. Many battles end when clarity arrives. Take a moment and comment one word below: awareness. Discernment also protects relationships. Not every disagreement is hostility. Not every distance is betrayal. Sometimes people change directions, and clarity helps you accept that without resentment. Hidden opposition loses power when you stop interpreting everything personally. In the next part, we will talk about words and agreements, how language shapes influence, and why what you accept internally often matters more than what happens externally.
Words are not just communication. They are alignment tools. Every system operates on agreement. Legal systems, social systems, personal systems. Spiritual influence works the same way. What you consistently agree with begins to shape your reality. This is why words matter, not because they are magical, but because they reflect belief. Belief directs behavior. Behavior creates outcomes. Many people focus on changing circumstances without examining internal agreements. They say things like, "This is just how life is. I always struggle. Nothing works for me." These are not observations, they are contracts, not signed on paper, but reinforced through repetition. Words spoken repeatedly train the mind and condition expectation. Expectation shapes response. Response shapes direction. This is why awareness of language is essential. If this is helping you notice patterns in your own thinking, stay with the series and subscribe. Change begins with awareness. Agreements are not always verbal. Some are emotional. Some are silent. You can agree with fear without saying a word. You can agree with limitation by avoiding responsibility. Words are not just communication. They are alignment tools. Every system operates on agreement. Legal systems, social systems, personal systems. Spiritual influence works the same way. What you consistently agree with begins to shape your reality. This is why words matter, not because they are magical, but because they reflect belief. Belief directs behavior. Behavior creates outcomes. Many people focus on changing circumstances without examining internal agreements. They say things like, "This is just how life is. I always struggle. Nothing works for me." These are not observations, they are contracts, not signed on paper, but reinforced through repetition. Words spoken repeatedly train the mind and condition expectation. Expectation shapes response. Response shapes direction. This is why awareness of language is essential.
If this is helping you notice patterns in your own thinking, stay with the series and subscribe. Change begins with awareness. Agreements are not always verbal. Some are emotional. Some are silent. You can agree with fear without saying a word. You can agree with limitation by avoiding responsibility. You can agree with confusion by refusing clarity. Breaking unhelpful agreements does not require force. It requires replacement. You don't fight a belief, you outgrow it. When understanding increases, old agreements lose relevance. This is why knowledge is disruptive. It quietly dissolves what no longer fits. Words aligned with clarity create stability. Words aligned with fear create pressure. This is not about positive thinking. It is about accurate thinking. Accuracy brings peace. Peace restores authority. Take a moment and comment one word below: aware. The goal is not to monitor every sentence. The goal is to understand direction. What you reinforce daily becomes familiar. What becomes familiar feels normal, and what feels normal often goes unquestioned. This is how influence works, quietly. In the next part, we will talk about emotional weight, how people carry burdens that are not theirs, and how releasing them restores clarity and strength.
Not all exhaustion comes from work. Some exhaustion comes from carrying what was never yours. Emotional weight builds quietly. It doesn't arrive all at once. It accumulates. Unspoken expectations, unresolved guilt, responsibility for other people's choices. Over time, these things drain clarity. Many people assume emotional heaviness means weakness. It doesn't. It means something is being carried without awareness. Inner strength is not about enduring everything. It is about recognizing what belongs to you and what does not. You are not required to fix everyone. You are not responsible for every outcome. You are not obligated to absorb every emotion around you. Release is not avoidance. Release is accuracy. When you carry what is not yours, your own direction becomes blurred. Clarity returns when weight is placed where it belongs. If this helps you understand why you felt tired without reason, stay connected and subscribe. Understanding creates relief. Emotional weight often comes from identity confusion. You begin to think, if I don't hold this together, everything will fall apart. That belief creates pressure. Pressure creates fear. Fear clouds judgment. Healthy responsibility does not feel heavy. It feels clear. When responsibility becomes heavy, it is a signal to reassess boundaries. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop controlling. Control creates tension. Trust restores peace. Peace is not passive. Peace is grounded. If you are recognizing something you need to release, comment one word below: release. Emotional release happens gradually. You don't drop everything at once. You become aware, then intentional. Each time you stop carrying unnecessary weight, energy returns. With energy comes clarity. With clarity comes strength. In the next part, we will talk about restoring inner order,
how peace becomes a system, not just a feeling.
Peace is not an emotion. Peace is a structure. Many people wait to feel peaceful before they act clearly. But peace does not begin with feelings. It begins with order. When inner systems are disorganized, the mind stays restless, even when life looks calm on the outside. Inner order means clarity about what matters, what does not, what requires action, and what requires release. Without order, everything feels urgent, and when everything feels urgent, nothing receives proper attention. Restoring inner order starts with prioritization. Not everything deserves the same energy. Not every thought deserves engagement. Not every emotion deserves a reaction. Order teaches discernment. You learn to respond instead of react. You learn to pause instead of panic. You learn to choose instead of drift. This is how peace stabilizes. If this perspective is helping you slow down internally, stay connected and subscribe. Clarity grows through consistency. Inner order also requires boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters. They decide what enters and what stays out. Without boundaries, external chaos becomes internal chaos. Restoring order means deciding what conversations drain you, what patterns repeat without progress, what commitments no longer align. Letting go of disorder is not failure, it is refinement. Refinement sharpens direction. When inner order returns, decision-making becomes easier, energy becomes stable, peace becomes sustainable. Take a moment and comment one word below: order. Inner order does not remove challenges, it changes how you face them. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond intentionally. This is the foundation of calm strength. In the next part, we will talk about standing without fear, how confidence forms quietly when order and clarity are established.
Fear does not always appear as panic. Often, it appears as hesitation, overthinking, second-guessing, delaying decisions you already understand. Standing without fear does not mean you feel fearless. It means fear no longer controls your actions. Confidence is often misunderstood. People think confidence is loud, visible, assertive. But real confidence is quiet. It does not seek validation. It does not explain excessively. It does not rush to prove anything. Standing without fear begins when clarity is stronger than anxiety. When you know why you are doing something, fear loses leverage. Most fear comes from uncertainty, not danger. When uncertainty decreases, fear naturally weakens. This is why clarity is the foundation of courage. If this is helping you rethink fear in a healthier way, stay connected and subscribe. Growth happens through understanding. Standing without fear also means accepting outcomes. Fear often comes from trying to control results. When control becomes the goal, peace disappears. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It means trusting your process. You do what is aligned. You act with integrity. You release the rest. This removes pressure. Pressure creates fear. Trust dissolves it. Fear thrives in urgency. Calm thrives in preparedness. When you are prepared internally, external challenges feel manageable.
Standing without fear is not about being unshaken, it is about being grounded. Grounded people bend without breaking. If you are learning to move forward without fear controlling you, comment one word below: steady. Standing without fear changes relationships too. You stop over-explaining. You stop seeking approval. You stop reacting defensively. This does not push people away. It attracts respect. Respect follows clarity. In the next part, we will talk about consistency and endurance, why steady movement matters more than intensity.
Change rarely happens through intensity. It happens through consistency. Many people wait for motivation. They wait to feel inspired. They wait for the perfect moment. But growth does not depend on mood. It depends on rhythm. Consistency creates stability. Stability creates momentum. Momentum creates change. Endurance is not about pushing harder. It is about continuing calmly. This is where many people struggle. They start strong, they stop early. Not because they failed, but because they expected quick results. Endurance requires realistic expectations. Progress is often subtle, quiet, almost unnoticeable, but over time it compounds. If this reminds you to stay steady instead of rushing, stay connected and subscribe. Long-term clarity develops gradually. Consistency also builds trust with yourself. Each time you follow through, confidence grows. Each time you abandon your process, self-doubt increases. Endurance is self-respect in action. It says, "I will continue even when nothing dramatic happens." Most breakthroughs look ordinary while they are forming. Consistency removes pressure. You stop asking, "Is this working yet?" and you start focusing on alignment. Alignment produces results without force. Endurance is not stubbornness. It is patience guided by clarity. If you are committing to steady growth, comment one word below: consistent. Consistency also protects peace. You are no longer thrown off by setbacks. You adjust and continue. This prevents burnout. It prevents emotional swings. Steady movement keeps you grounded. In the final part, we will bring everything together, ending in calm assurance and clarity, not intensity. Victory does not always feel loud. Often, it feels quiet. It feels like relief, like clarity, like steadiness returning. True victory is not about proving anything. It is about no longer being disturbed by what once controlled you. At this point in the journey, nothing dramatic needs to happen. No declaration, no confrontation, no reaction. Not every battle required your energy. Not every challenge required your response. Not every moment required explanation. When clarity settles, conflict loses relevance. This is how victory actually looks. You stop replaying conversations. You stop anticipating resistance. You stop carrying emotional weight forward. Peace becomes natural, not because everything is perfect, but because you are grounded. If this series has brought you clarity or calm, you're welcome to stay connected and subscribe. Not for content, but for continuity. Closure is not forgetting the past. It is understanding it without emotion. You don't erase experience, you integrate it. And once integrated, it no longer controls you. This is where confidence lives. not in intensity, not in defense, but in quiet certainty. Certainty that you can face challenges without losing yourself. Certainty that peace is something you build, not something you wait for. Certainty that you no longer need to rush. If you feel more settled than when you started, comment one word below: peace. This is not the end of growth. It is the end of unnecessary struggle. From here, you move forward, clearer, steadier, lighter. You don't need to announce it. Your life will show it. Thank you for staying through this journey. Take what served you, release what didn't, and move forward calmly.